welcome to That's Canon, the podcast talking about the Canon film series and other similar movies. I'm your host, Phil.
And I'm Greg.
And this is episode 33. I forgot to say that.
Man, last week's ending and this week's intro.
I know.
How does one podcast?
What do? Read the script?
Read the goddamn script.
I think that perfectly summarizes kind of what we're about to talk about. The Exterminator, in my opinion, a very 80s action film. We went back in time because this is not a canon film. This was made and distributed by Interstar Pictures.
I've never heard of that. That we saw the little kind of like the colorful logo from them in the beginning, right?
Yeah, well, a nice logo, you know.
Yeah.
But I've never heard of Interstar Pictures as well. I don't know how long they were around. If you Google Interstar Pictures, you get pictures of vans.
So like they make conversion vans. That's what I'm imagining.
Yes.
Or is they like van rental? Okay.
So there's not a lot of information about it, which is kind of interesting because they at least have this movie, The Exterminator, and it was notable enough to get a sequel.
Yeah, maybe they got absorbed by canon at some point, which is how we got the sequel.
Yeah.
I guess.
I'm pretty sure canon looked at this and were rubbing their beady little fly hands together going, yes, we will buy this from you.
Yes, good. This is the exact kind of trash that we love.
Yes.
Which is weird because I guess it makes sense. They did the same thing with Death Wish. Like, I guess that's just in their wheelhouse. They see these schlocky vigilante movies, and that's just like, they just gobbled that shit right up and churn out sequels.
This was the Death Wish I thought Death Wish was going to be. Does that make sense, what I just said?
In what way? Like the
violence.
The violence up to 11. Yeah. I get that.
The violence up to the 11 and like little to no story.
Yeah.
Did you get that? I don't know what the hell the writer did, but there was like nothing. There was, at least to me, there was this small thread of a story going through it.
Yeah. It was really, compared to Death Wish, no question. Death Wish had a very coherent plot. You understood what Jack Kersey was doing, his motivations, all the characters' motivations, the cops, all that good stuff. Exterminator, not so much. Like, they try to set up a little bit of it in the beginning, but it goes, once he starts doing vigilante things, it all goes out the window.
Yeah.
Completely. Yeah, you're 100% right.
Did you see the poster for this? I'm sending it to you on Discord.
Yeah, please do. I don't think I did. I saw like a crappy Blu-ray cover, but
it's equally as cool as the Exterminator 2 one, where it's just a guy with a flamethrower wearing
like a motorcycle helmet or something.
Okay, so now,
is it a motorcycle helmet?
It looks like a motorcycle helmet or a spaceman's helmet.
Yeah, okay, it looks kind of like a space helmet spray painted black, which is also pretty badass, actually.
So my only knowledge of the Exterminator series was Exterminator 2, the cover on the Blu-ray, which is, again, it looks like some dystopian Mad Max 2 style film. A guy with a flamethrower, buildings in the background, everything's on fire.
Yeah, standing on some kind of rubble.
And then you see the Exterminator poster and you're like, okay, I can see this is the guy on the cover. He just has a cooler helmet. I figured that this was set in some like alternate reality.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I thought I was going to get some kind of like sci-fi action.
So you probably got a little bit of bait and switch disappointment going on.
I did. Maybe like an Escape from New York type of movie.
Okay.
Because it says in war, you have to kill to stay alive. On the streets of New York, it's often the same.
I can 100% see where you got that from, because the look of this character on the poster, he's kind of like, you got that black helmet, he's all dressed in black, he looks like he's got like a goofy near future soldier uniform on.
Yeah,
I could definitely believe that he's some kind of in some kind of Escape from New York knockoff.
This also is no way Robert Ginty.
Oh, hell no. This guy's like some oiled up, model or something.
Yeah.
That ain't Ginty,
this,
and they're hiding his face very tastefully.
this is prime grade beefcake on the
Yeah,
Exterminator.
great ain't beefcake. Welcome to Beefcake Cast.
Yeah, this is not Robert Ginty.
No. Yeah, definitely not.
So
It is a cool poster, though. I
it
have to say, I'm actually hearing you talk about it. I'm glad that I didn't see this beforehand because I feel like I would have come to the exact same conclusion.
it kind of reminds me of like the remember in the Alamo Draft House the Rotor poster. It's just this really awesome
Mm-hmm.
badass like robot cop, but apparently it's nothing like that. This is exactly how I felt watching this.
Yeah, straight promotional, looks cooler on the poster. See, I think like we were saying before the show, I think we will probably have a little bit of difference of opinion because I quite enjoyed this movie. I don't feel like it was something that was, bait and switched on me. I feel like it delivered on what I expected it to deliver on. But I'm worried that I'm glad I didn't see this poster because I feel like I probably would agree with you.
Yeah.
I think I would have been a little bit more disappointed.
Does again, I know I just watched it maybe like a couple hours ago. He didn't use a flamethrower in this movie, did he? Did I miss that?
Yeah,
He did stuff with fire. I know that.
he threatened one of the first gang members with the flamethrower with
Okay.
that thing.
He
But he
oh
never actually torched anyone with a
I thought it was
flamethrower.
like an acetylene torch or something like that. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it might have been. It looked kind of like an improvised flamethrower because he didn't have like not like one of those like big World War II era backpack tanks.
Yeah.
He didn't have that,
I love,
which would have been
it
badass.
would have been.
But no, there was a lot of fire, yeah, going on, which we'll get to. But he didn't actually kill anyone, I don't think, with the flamethrower.
So the movie opens up a large explosion, which I'm assuming is about 80% of their budget.
I said the exact same thing in my notes. At the end of this intro, I was like, "Well, we just saw like 80% of the budget
Yeah.
right there in that first 5 minutes."
Because it's classic B movie, get you in the first 20 minutes. So
Oh my god!
but again, this is,
Are you me?
I know
I have that like almost verbatim. What you just said is in my notes. I
it's,
said classic B movie, exciting opener with all the budget.
yeah.
That's basically what it is. Like you said, they were like in the first frame after the like intro, we get an explosion.
It's so odd though. So I guess let's take a pause here for just a quick second. Um, it's odd that B movies do this, I think, especially back in the 80s and 90s, because the only way that you would have seen them generally is by renting it, right? Renting it,
Mhm.
maybe seeing it on cable, or a blind purchase if you just straight up bought it.
Yeah, looking at that awesome poster, maybe, or looking at that awesome VHS cover.
What's the need to blow the pooch in the beginning, right?
You, they've already rented it. They've already spent the
Yeah.
money.
It literally could just be a blank screen going like, we got your money. I don't, but
Sucker.
B movies, it's always this. It's always big, exciting action piece in the beginning. That's 80% of the budget. And then we'll just,
Yeah.
we'll limp through the rest of the movie.
And then maybe give you something cool at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
You're right. It's a formula that we're so familiar with, but I never actually took a step back to think like why they do that. Because you're right. If at this in this era, like they're going for like a rental market, or they're going for, they've already paid the ticket for the Grindhouse, the Midnight Theater. They're already in their asses in the seat already. Like you got them.
Unless there's like maybe back in the day, if this was in a movie theater, people have to sit in the movie for a certain amount of time before they can't get a refund, right? Like
Maybe, yeah.
maybe like the first 10 minutes. I don't know what a refund policy is on a movie. I don't think I've ever done it. But if you make it past the first 10 minutes, you're done. Like there is no refund.
It's like the Steam games where like if you play it for more than an hour or two, you can't do it. You can't refund it anymore. So
Exactly.
yeah, that would make sense then. Yeah, if like just keep them in the seat munching on popcorn for the first 10 minutes and then bore the shit out of them.
Exactly.
Yeah, I would buy that. We'll have to do a little bit more research. We'll get back to you, dear listeners.
Exactly.
If that theory holds water.
So we open up and it's Vietnam. There's explosions, helicopters. John Landis is creaming his pants.
Oh, Twilight Zone movie.
And this is where we meet our main characters, Robert Ginty, who plays the titular character John Eastland, who I'm surprised even has a last name.
Yeah, geez, which we never hear. We barely hear his first name.
Exactly. A lot of these people are just nameless.
Yeah, he will be Ginty for the rest of this review.
And we also meet Steve James, who plays his war buddy, Michael Jefferson. Um, so Steve James actually, like, he cuts a pretty imposing figure in this movie. He looks like he is an action hero in it.
Yeah, he looks like he reminded me of as one of the guys on the Arnold's Predators crew.
Yeah,
He looks like he could be in that crew.
exactly. He was in American Warrior, which I believe is a canon film. So
Oh,
we'll see him
see him
again.
again.
He was in a couple of the American Ninja films, and he played a walk-on role in Pee-wee's Playhouse as Derek.
Aw.
So there you go. Robert Ginty, as we said, the main character in this film, who I could have swapped out for Steve any day. He went on to star in Exterminator 2, and I don't know if he starred in the third one. Did you know that there's a third Exterminator film?
Oh my. Well, okay. I should have expected it. I didn't know that, no, but knowing that canon about the properties and how many they made of Death Wish, that's not
And
surprising.
just churning it out. He also
Churned it out.
starred in this other film, and it looks like a Mad Max ripoff, but of course, the poster could just be a lie. It's called Warrior of the Lost World, and it also stars Donald Pleasance.
Interesting combo.
Yeah,
Is that a canon movie too? Are we going to get
I
that?
don't think so. This looks like it's even more B than Canon does. Canon does, like, they
You said a
do
mouthful there.
American homegrown action, right? They don't, very rarely have we seen a sci-fi film from Canon. This is I guess, whatever production company would be making rip-off sci-fi movies, right?
Okay. Warriors of the Lost World. That doesn't sound like a sci-fi title to me. It sounds more like an Indiana Jones ripoff to me.
Kinda. If you saw the poster, you'd be thinking Mad Max sci-fi,
Okay.
post-apocalyptic future. Man, we're getting off topic here. So back at Vietnam,
Ginty's storied career.
people are just getting ripped apart left and right. Robert Ginty gets kidnapped or captured by the enemy, the Vietnamese. And he's getting tortured for information of when the military is going to come in and do
Right.
like their invasion. Uh, Robert Ginty sees that his buddy is kind of scuttling in the background, getting ready for the kill,
Getting ready for the ambush. Yep.
and it looks like. Oh, I'm sorry. We got to take a quick pause here because I forgot something. Right before the kidnapping, they cut some dude's head off.
That's during the kidnapping, isn't it?
Is it? Is it during the kidnapping or? Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, it
because
is.
they kidnap Ginty and his like a little like a squad. There's
Yeah,
like 5 or 6 guys, and they've got a couple of them tied up. Like Ginty and one other guy are tied up. Their arms are tied to 2 stakes, and they're kind of like so their arms are all spread out, and it's kind of like tightly bound that way. And one of the other guys, like the Vietnamese soldier, he's trying to press Ginty for information, and then to get him to talk, he decapitates the other guy, and boy, does it look awesome.
it does. So now I know I usually leave the trivia for the end of the movie, but the beheading costs
Ooh.
$25,000 to shoot.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
And this entire Vietnam sequence cost $400,000 to film, which was 20% of the
Oh my
budget.
God. Wow. So
Um,
this actually had a pretty big budget for the movie then. They didn't blow like 90% of it then.
they didn't. No, they just used they used a good portion of it
But
for
still hilarious. Yeah.
yeah.
Still a hilarious percentage.
As Robert Ginty's tied up, his buddy Steve comes up and he just starts shooting all the Vietnamese. He uses like piano wire to slice one of their necks. It was really cool.
Really good fact. Yeah, sorry, really quick. I got to go back to this decapitation
Yes,
because it looks so good.
it
And
does.
it's a weird thing to hear, but when you're a weird like gore hound like we are, you appreciate this stuff when you see it because normally when you get decapitations, it's obviously like they do like a quick cut and it obviously is like a paper mache head that's painted with, flesh colored paint and it just looks terrible. It's got a wig on it and maybe they put some blood in it to like that will like drip out. But the way that they did this, it's the Vietnamese soldier, he's got like a machete that he's threatening them with, and he doesn't like take a big baseball swing at him.
No.
It's more like he like cuts through the neck almost as if it's like a jello mold,
Yeah.
like way too easily. But then it looks so real, like the way that the skin tears away, and the mouth of the head is fully articulated, so it's like still like talking, and as the head falls back it's I'm going into really grisly detail here, but it's like amazing in a B movie like this you get makeup effects like that.
The only other film that I can think of that has a decapitation or a decapitated head that looks as good as this is Day of the Dead.
Yes,
Um,
it's definitely like a Savini class makeup effect
yeah,
for sure, which I was not expecting. I don't know about you.
I was not expecting something that good coming from something called The Exterminator. No, I wasn't.
Yeah, right.
So
It was, yeah, very surprising. I mean, definitely if you want to watch this movie, if only for the first like interest, like couple minutes, at least check that out because it's worth appreciating a quality makeup effect when you see him.
yes, as all the American soldiers are freed and all the Vietnamese people are getting slaughtered, the helicopter comes in and they all get flown to safety. So the first 7 minutes of this film cost 20% of the overall budget. Um, that's an interesting fact right there, in my opinion. We go to New York City. We're
Yes, flash forward.
we're in what would I guess would be considered present day 1980s New York, and
Yeah.
we see. I thought this was pretty interesting because it kind of made New York look very nice, a nice night sky, and then it kind of transitions into a shitty warehouse dock area, right?
Yeah,
Like,
like the kind of the grimy meatpacking district.
yeah, and it's specifically for beer. Like, I guess the place that these two are working at is a beer shipping facility.
Yeah, like some kind of distributor or something. Because yeah, that's what you see Ginty and his war buddy doing. They're just hauling pallets of some no-name beer into some storage sheds.
Exactly. And then some nameless, faceless thugs come in and they talk to the boss and they get some money from him because I guess he's getting shook down for protection, because this is still 1980s New York. So, you know,
The mob's got their grubby hands and everything, I guess.
stuff like that still happens. Uh, Robert Ginty's war buddy, he gets a bonus and a raise. He's been doing such a great job.
Great job. Really loading up that beer real good.
Exactly. He probably, I wonder what his beer loading per minute is, BLPM. Um, that obviously must be the metric that they're.
That's definitely the metric,
Yeah.
yes.
Uh, meanwhile, Robert Ginty finds some thugs stealing some beer, and he.
Yeah, I guess they like pinched the padlock on the door, and they're just like helping themselves to all the beer.
Which is kind of weird. Like they're loading up just pallets of beer into their car. Do you think that they're going to go home and drink this or try to resell it?
That's actually a good question. I just assumed that they were taking what they wanted to drink over the next couple of days, but some enterprising thugs. They're not going for drugs. They're just reselling cheap beer.
Exactly.
Low stakes game, guys.
Robert Ginty, despite being I don't know, I won't say war hero. He didn't do anything super heroic, but he was in a war. Uh,
Yeah, he didn't save the squad when they were kidnapped. He just kind of was victimized.
which is surprising of what happens in this film, because Robert Ginty immediately gets held up by these thugs. He gets captured by the Vietnamese, and then he immediately gets captured by these thugs. He seems like a very helpless character.
He's just really unlucky, I guess.
Yeah, but his buddy comes in. his war buddy comes in and immediately starts kicking people's asses, right?
Oh my god, it's awesome because like the prior before that they were meeting up. I guess it's the end of the day. He's like, hey man, I'll meet you for coffee. Let me go like load this last pallet, and that's when Gindy walks away. So his war buddy comes back with two cups of like boiling hot coffee, and the one of the thugs like threatens him, and it's so satisfying when the war buddy just like splashes him in the face with that hot coffee and
Yes.
immediately starts kicking him. Oh man, it's awesome.
He quickly dispatches all the thugs. Robert Ginty does get a couple punches in, but it's really the friend who's doing the brunt of the action here.
Yeah, saves the
And
day.
as smoothly as they get rid of everyone, he's just kind of like, okay, let's clean up this trash and get out of here. And I was like, this guy is gonna be awesome in this movie. And
We should have
I
known.
am so stupid. Um, we get a quick scene of Robert Ginty and his friend drinking beer and talking, and you get to see them talk about their life. And the war buddy's like, "Hey, I got to go see my kid before he goes to sleep. I'm a good
Yeah,
father figure."
this was the tip off point for me. Is like that's how I knew something bad was going to happen to this guy or his family because he said he's a stand-up guy. He just got raised at work. He's got a really sweet and loving family who he takes care of. He's a
Yeah.
good provider. It's like, oh man, this guy's a goner.
And it's interesting because he goes and he talks to his family, and we see him interact pretty quick with his family. When they cut to him leaving the house again, what the fuck? Where do they live? There's like dilapidated buildings all around them. Like the again, you don't get to see too much of their apartment or where they live, but it looks pretty nice.
Yeah, the
Um,
inside seems nice enough for like a middle class working class apartment in I guess they're in Manhattan. We have no idea.
but then it cuts and it looks like a scene from Escape from New York. Like the surrounding buildings have no windows.
Yeah, they're all like burnt out, like
Yeah.
derelict buildings.
It
I
almost
mean,
looks like it's a optical effect too, just the way he's walking. Like those buildings are matte or something. I don't know. It's the shot just looks really weird.
that's hilarious. Like they shoot in a rundown part of New York. They're like, it's still not run down
Yeah,
enough. We need matte paintings of these post-apocalyptic blown out buildings.
exactly. Um, as he's about to, leave and get back to the street, he gets accosted by four individuals, and they just start beating the shit out of him for no real reason. Uh, but then we find out the ultimate reason is one of the guys who is a part of the gang. The face reveal happens, and it was like, oh, you just got the shit kicked out of you at the docks. This is why you're
Yep,
jumping them.
it was the guy who got the coffee to the face in the beginning.
And he comes up with a a tiller, like that you use for tilling your
Oh
your
yeah, that was
garden.
weird. Like those little like every little kid played with these
Yeah,
when they were young. Like
it's your
or like
Wolverine
those like metal
claws.
claws. Yeah, exactly. You put them between your hands, and I'm so glad that we both are agreeing on
Yes,
how those things are to be played with when you're a kid. But like they're not sharp. I mean, they're just like metal. They look cool, but they're like just dull metal claws for like aerating the soil. But he he goes to town on this poor war hero.
he does. They start choking him out with a chain, and they get him on his back, and he digs that tiller in the middle of his back and
Yeah,
twists.
just like digs into his spine with it. It's actually not that gory compared to some of the other scenes we've seen before, but it's knowing how that would actually damage you. It's pretty grisly.
So then we cut, and Robert Ginty, he goes to the park where his buddy's wife and family is at, and they kind of like have a quick conversation. This isn't the reveal that he's in the hospital though, is he? I think it is. Yeah, he reveals that his buddy's been jumped. He's in the hospital and he's paralyzed.
Yeah,
How the fuck?
this was the start of the confusion. How did she
Exactly.
not know already? Like, hey, notify next of kin.
How does Robert Ginty know?
I don't know.
This is the part
Because
where
they needed this scene, that's why.
you start losing me as someone who likes. I guess I don't expect a good story, but I expect the writer to go,
Coherence.
how does Robert Ginty know about this? Oh, fuck it. I don't expect that. I expect like The cop shows up at the meeting place where Robert Ginty and his friend were supposed to be, because his friend told the cop, maybe his last words of coherence were, Second and Eighth Street or something, or maybe Robert
Yeah.
Ginty's name. But anyways,
Some kind of linkage between the revenge scene from the goons attacking the war hero and how Ginty gets involved, how he knows something, but we get none of it.
exactly. As they exchange a little bit of dialogue, the wife has little to no emotional reaction to the news. It was more just like a what? We get
No.
another sweeping aerial shot of a city that looks like the Blitzkrieg came through it.
Oh yeah, we get more of the the burnt out buildings. Like they've got no roofs. They look like they've had like a fire swept through.
Yeah,
But I mean, if I didn't know better, it was like Detroit or something, like a way more rundown part of that city
it
than you would
looks
expect in Manhattan. But I guess I don't know New York then.
maybe the exterminator from the cover with the flamethrower was going through and burning these places down.
That's that's the deleted scene where he accidentally starts a fire when he's making his flamethrower,
That'd be
and
awesome.
he's like, oh, uh-oh, walks away and lets the whole building burn down.
We cut to Robert Ginty seeing his war buddy in the hospital. There's like flashes of it, and he's all hooked up to machines to help him breathe because he's paralyzed. And then we cut to nighttime in the park, and an old woman is walking through. I'm making this sound more mysterious than I am, like, I guess, horrifying. Uh, this old woman gets accosted by some people wearing the colors of the gang that paralyzed Ginty's buddy.
We have to say the name of the gang though, because I think it's awesome.
Oh, what was the
The
name again?
the Ghetto
The
Ghouls.
Ghetto Ghouls.
It was like stenciled on the hot rod
Yeah,
they were loading the beer into in the beginning. It's like that's kind of a cool name for a car. And then I realized, and then they say later, it's like, oh, that's the name of the gang. It's like, oh man, what a cool gang name,
the Ghetto Ghouls.
the Ghetto Ghouls.
They start stealing and robbing this old woman. They even kick her at one point, which was so shocking.
Oh, it's brutal. They like, yeah, they backhand her. He's like, you stupid bitch, and smacks her really hard across the face. And then yeah, they're just kicking her while she's down, and it's like they're just and she's clearly not rich. She just says, oh, my check, my check, my social security check was late. I need my money, please.
Yeah.
And she just got groceries. Like, what kind of score do you think you're going to get from this poor old lady who's living off of social security checks?
Old people and kids, very rarely do you get to see uh violence against them in a movie, right?
Yeah, to
So
this degree for sure.
and then some innocent bystander comes up on a motorcycle and tries to help, but he gets a switchblade pulled on him, and he's like, hey, I'm not trying to start anything with you guys. And then Robert Ginty shows up, and I swear, Greg, I got confused again, because I was like, wait, Robert Ginty's a bad guy now, because he comes up to the bystander who's helping the old lady, and he puts a gun to the back of his head, and he's like, essentially, he's like, get down, I'm gonna fucking shoot you. And then he steals the motorcycle. Were you confused by that too?
Yeah, it was his whole behavior in that scene. It was very like bad guy antagonist kind of behavior.
Yeah.
He basically he like stole this guy's motorcycle and held him up for it at gunpoint.
Yeah, I don't get what's going on here with Ginty in this film, but he starts to track down the gang. It's a straight road, so there's really no tracking. It's just driving straight. But they eventually meet up, and there's like shit in the road at one point. There's like a whole bunch of construction going around, which again is really confusing, because this doesn't look like it's set in New York City anymore. It doesn't look like it's a bombed out city, but there's trash and just crap all over the street.
Yeah, it looks dressed up to be even worse
Yeah.
than it somehow would be in real life. I
Rob,
guess they're really trying to get that message across.
yeah,
Hey, this is a bad neighborhood. Ooh,
exactly.
trash,
Yeah,
graffiti.
because Robert Ginty crashes his motorcycle and falls into trash. At this point, I was really hoping that they were going to kill Ginty and another hero was going to show up because, again, Ginty is supposed to be the exterminator. He's supposed to be this badass Death Wish type character. But again, he just keeps falling on his ass at every
He's
turn.
yeah. He's not some kind of slick exterminator killer.
He also does not look imposing at all because of his like floppy blonde hair.
Yeah, I feel a little bad, but we got to talk about Robert Ginty a little bit. He is not a leading man looking kind of guy.
He's not even man looking kind of guy.
He's got this weird, you know, those some people just have those faces where they both have like a baby face and they also kind of look older because he's got, you know, wrinkles on his face.
He's an old baby.
It's, he's like an old baby dude. It's the weirdest thing. And yeah, I think the like the bright blonde hair too isn't helping him seem imposing.
Yeah.
It's this sounds yeah super shallow of us, but he does not in a decade where you've got people like Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger and all of these really like imposing looking action stars leading movies like this, and then even what's his name, Charles Bronson, looks way more intimidating compared to Robert Ginty. He just
Exactly.
not doesn't even compare.
I think what was the Oliver Reed is a lump of clay, but Robert Ginty is like a bag of smashed bread. Like it's lumpy
He's
in all the wrong places.
like, oh yeah, like a soggy loaf of Wonder Bread.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on there. He's ageless and old at the same time.
Ah, it's so weird. He's got that Jack syndrome.
Yeah. I really don't understand what's going on here. But again, I
Poor Robert Ginty.
when you're being an action star, you have to physically impose on the screen. If I saw this guy in an alley, I'd be like, I can take this mother guy. I'm this mother guy, this motherfucker.
This mother
I can
guy.
take this mother guy. But like if I saw Stallone in a, I'd be like, okay,
Oh,
I'm
you
gonna
shit your
walk the other
pants.
way, right?
Yeah. I guess okay, here my theory is maybe they were trying to cast a convincing looking everyman, someone who maybe isn't imposing. He's kind of like a regular dude, but through his horrible war experiences, he becomes someone who like is unassumingly imposing. Like you don't expect them to be scary and
Then
uh uh
you need Lance Hendrickson.
oh yeah, the pumpkin head
Yeah,
effect.
where like
Yeah.
Lance Hendrickson is just he looks like he could be a normal guy, but then he can like turn and he
He
gives you
can
that
become
stare.
yeah, he could do scary and imposing.
Exactly. Uh,
Yeah.
um, this man is no Lance Hendrickson. Uh,
Um
he as the car is barreling down the road to hopefully run over Robert Ginty, he pulls out his Death Wish revolver and kills the driver. In doing so, it causes the car to flip and fall down a chasm that wasn't there previously, uh, killing.
yeah, apparently they were on an overpass the entire time,
Yeah,
which
could have
did
fooled
not
me.
come across at all.
Ginty tracks down one of the survivors from the car crash, and that's where we get the acetylene torch flamethrower scene where he's pumping him for information. Where is the people who paralyzed his friends? Um,
Right.
and he gets the information, which I was really shocked that he gets the information, and then there was no like scene in between to cut up the action of like him going to the cops and being like, hey, you know, you're on the
Yes,
case, like do this.
exactly. Like you hit the nail on the head for me because that's what you need in a vigilante movie. You need them trying to work through the system and then getting boxed out or stonewalled and just like, oh, like the cops aren't working fast enough. I
Exactly.
got to take matters into my own hands because I'm desperate and pissed off. You like he goes immediately from poor victim to I'm going to like kill every mobster in the city.
Yeah.
He goes any ramp up like you do with Death Wish, where you see him sort of he starts off like what was that quote, like he's a bleeding heart hippie or whatever,
Yep.
and he slowly becomes the Jack Kersey who goes off and kills people and takes matters into his own hands. We get none of that ramp up in the Exterminator.
Exactly. He gets the information of where the killers are, and then he immediately goes to the killers with a AR-15, and
No, that's like a straight up M16, isn't it?
yeah,
It's
it's
huge, like those
huge.
big Vietnam era M16s.
He busts into their clubhouse, as they call it, a clubhouse, and I'm not calling it a clubhouse.
It's like it looks like a, again, it's another one of these like blown out abandoned buildings. It looks like a glorified treehouse.
And he just starts wasting everyone inside except for the guy who actually paralyzed his buddy. He holds him down at gunpoint, and there's like an exchange of words. And isn't this where your quote of the week comes in? Is this the part right here?
No, that's later, and
Okay.
we'll get to that later. That's where we get some weird political intrigue that it goes nowhere. But yeah, that comes later.
Yeah. And then he hits him with the butt of the gun, and he starts dragging him down the stairs. And he puts him in like a basement area.
It looks like a one of those storage areas under the street.
Yeah.
But it's full of trash.
And
it was really bizarre.
Rats.
Yes.
Which this is so weird because we just saw some guy get decapitated. We saw people get blown up. We saw a guy get shot. And then it cuts to the cops, and one of the, what do you call them? Like EMT guys is like, yeah, there's two people down in the basement. They're dead. Their faces got eaten off by rats.
Yes. And we don't see it.
Yeah.
How disappointing.
And
I want to see that.
I don't want to be that guy, but I'm going to be that guy. How long would it take for a rat to eat someone's face off?
One rat or like a swarm?
I don't know. I guess like we saw a couple. So I guess if there's, they say if you see one rat, there's more,
there's like dozens
exactly.
more that you're not seeing. Yeah, I don't know. That sounds like a good experiment. Let's call up the FBI. I'm sure they've got data on
that. Wouldn't be weird at all. Hey, Mr. FBI guy.
I'm asking for a podcast. How long does it take for rats to eat a guy's face?
He's like, let me listen to the episode. Oof, that's brutal. And then we never sorry, Catherine, if you're listening.
Oh.
As the cops show up, we get Christopher George. He's one of the detectives in this movie, if you want to even call him being in this movie. I don't know what you would say he does in it. He's in scenes, but he doesn't do much.
This is the detective character that should have been introduced earlier when Ginty was trying to work through the system to get justice for his friend.
But we know Christopher George better as Mr. Venarious from Enter the Ninja.
Oh my God. That's where he's from.
Yes.
I spend this entire movie scratching my head like, I know this guy. He's got such a distinctive, that kind of like deep, raspy voice. Like, where is this dude from? That's Mr. Venereal Disease, the awesome bad guy from Enter the Ninja.
So
did you know that ahead of time? Did you spot him after seeing his face?
As soon as I saw him, I was like, I've just seen him in a movie. And I was like, and it was a ninja movie. And then I looked it up really quick and I was like, oh my God.
Okay.
It's Mr. Venarious.
How awesome. Okay, yeah. He's back.
So we have like a double canon connection here. This being it's not a prequel, just being the first in the series of a movie that canon bought, and Mr. Venarious. So the detective shows up and there's really no detecting going on here. He really just shows up and people go, those dudes got their faces eaten off by rats, and that's the scene.
Yeah, this whole movie doesn't do a good job of presenting the whole idea of a vigilante showing up and like the point of view of that scenario from the cops. Like the cops' point of view, where they're trying to investigate and figuring out who's killing all of these ghetto ghouls.
Ghetto ghouls. It's
what a great name.
it's a rap name. It's a rap name for like a like if there was like goth rap,
The
right?
Ghetto
The
Ghouls.
ghetto ghouls, and they would rap about like death and the devil in the ghetto.
I seen zombies in the ghetto.
Yeah, that would be their hit track. I've seen zombies in the ghetto.
Oh man.
Uh
But what a great idea. You need start it up.
start writing some rap.
Your rap career begins now.
I know. But yeah, as you're saying, the cops don't really do anything in this movie. They're kind of just there, but they don't do stuff.
No, we get no scenes with them investigating or trying to figure out. I mean, it's clearly what they're doing. They're trying to find out who the vigilante is, but we have to piece that together from context clues from this, the few scenes that we do get with this one detective.
Exactly. So we cut back. Robert Ginty doesn't work at the beer place anymore. Now he's pushing meat. That's not a euphemism. He's pushing meat.
He's pushing meat.
He's pushing meat into trucks, and he sees the mob. I almost called them mob ghouls. The mob ghouls coming down to shake people down for more money, for more protection money. It's a really quick scene. It's probably like 5 seconds, so it's really jarring because then we cut to Robert Ginty talking to his war buddy in the hospital. He's talking to him because his war buddy has tubes and shit all
it's on a
over him.
ventilator or something. He can't talk, so he's just kind of like blinking to show that he's understanding what's going on.
Exactly. And he's talking about like, I've killed the people who did this for you, which this should be like the last scene in the movie, not in the 30-minute mark of the movie.
No, like we're 1/3 way through and he's already full, getting revenge on the big bad.
So I kind of stopped it here and I was like, why the fuck do I need to watch the rest of this if he's already gotten all of the resolution to the crux of the story, right? From just a movie watching from making a decent logical movie. If Death Wish, I can't, Paul Kersey, if he got revenge on his wife and daughter getting raped within the first 30 minutes of the movie, wouldn't you go, why do I need to watch the rest?
Yeah, all the wind would be out of your sails at that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, in that movie, he never gets vengeance on those guys. Like the Jeff Goldblum guy and his gang, like they never show up again in that movie, right?
Yeah, they never do. Which again, that's the frustrating part about this movie, or that movie. The frustrating part about this movie is he gets revenge too quick.
Too quick, yeah. And then he's just getting vigilante justice on any random mobster ghoul or ghetto ghoul.
Ghetto ghouls, which is you said it perfectly, which is where the movie goes. It is now Robert Ginty just going out Paul Kersey style, looking for trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, like the detective character is really hard to kind of like pin down and figure out what's going on with what he's trying to do. But he goes and he picks up a hooker and he's like, oh, she's like giving him the rundown of like how much things cost. And he's like, he holds out some handcuffs and she's like, that's going to be extra. And he's like, no, you're under arrest. I'm a cop.
I thought that was a funny joke.
And then he's like shaking her down for some information and it looks very evil.
The way that it's lit, they're all like lit from like underneath it. You almost think that this detective is gonna go evil on us somehow. Like actually, for a split second here, I thought that he was trying to get information to find out where like an information leak was because he was a mole, like a mob mole in the police force, and he wanted to know like how did they find my guy? Like how do they find out who did this? And he wants to plug the leak basically.
Exactly, because they're shooting it from the perspective of like where you have the jail cell bars in between the camera and the character. So you're seeing the characters through like the bars or like through a grate. And it just looks very evil, but he's asking for information on the gang and the vigilante, essentially, is what it boils down to. Because for some reason, he doesn't think it's a rival gang or someone. He's just like, it's a vigilante.
somehow jumps to that conclusion with basically no information.
Exactly. Robert Ginty shows up to a nice steakhouse. It looks very nice. I'd go eat here. This is obviously where the
Yeah.
mob goes because steakhouses and mobs and
They just go like they go together like lamb and tuna
yeah,
fish.
exactly. Uh,
Anyone see Big Daddy? Come on. Great quote.
the the mob boss who we've never seen before, we have absolutely no history of. We're just kind of going off that he is a mob boss because they say he is. His bodyguard goes into the shitter and checks to make sure that it's safe, right? And that there's no one
Yeah.
else in there. And then when he checks it out, it's fine. The mob boss
Gives
goes
him the
in
go
there
ahead.
and he's like, gonna take a poop, mob poop.
As they do.
Yeah, mob boss has got a poop too. We see Robert Ginty. He's hiding in the trash can.
Ah, you sly fox.
I gotta say, that is pretty good.
Pretty genius. Yeah, what mob guy is going to check in the trash can? Surely they're not hiding in there.
He Robert Ginty pulls out a hypodermic needle. It's full of something, knockout juice, because
Knockout
he,
juice.
he
Yes.
sticks the mob boss with it, and he immediately passes out. There is no lag between injection and turn off of this
Oh yeah,
human
you
being.
think that he would have at least like a second or two to scream for his buddy who's right outside the door.
Exactly.
He doesn't even try to like put his hand over his mouth to keep him from making a sound. He just goes right for the jugular with that knockout juice, and it works.
Have you ever been like sedated for medical stuff?
Yeah. Usually there's like 5 or 10 seconds
Exactly.
where you can, you're aware of yourself kind of like going out, but you can still think and talk.
Yeah. I remember before my surgery, they gave me like that propofol or something, which is extremely, that's the stuff that killed Michael Jackson. And I
Oh,
remember
geez,
like
yeah.
a few seconds before just being like, I'm going out. And, but this
Yeah,
mob
you
boss,
feel yourself, going out.
he had no time.
No,
That's some good
that's that good
stuff.
shit.
Exactly. So Robert Ginty has the mob boss. He's strung up on chains and he puts him underneath an industrial meat grinder.
Which I is it's badass. Like what a scary, interesting way to threaten someone by dangling them over a giant industrial meat grinder. But I have to give a little credit to the movie here. I'm glad that they set up the fact that Ginty works in a meat packing,
Yes.
like in the meat packing district. They at least set that up that he would know where to get how to get access to something like that.
Exactly. Because again, like I'm not gonna be like if any other movie, I'd be like, but at least with this movie, there's so many like, how the fuck did he get to this point? This would have just been another. How the fuck did he get to this point?
Where did he get access to like a meat processing plant? Yeah, like at least they took the time to set this one up.
Exactly.
Bravo movie.
So there's an exchange of dialogue. Robert Ginty is saying like, you've shook down people for protection money enough. It's time for you to essentially repay back your debt to society. And the mob boss goes like, the money's in my house. Here's the keys. Go do what you need to do. Right.
Which I feel like we should establish like he's trying to get money for his war buddy's family.
Yes.
To like set them up so that because obviously their provider is paralyzed. That comes like I bring that up now because he mentions that at one point when he's in the hospital, like I'm gonna like don't worry, I found a way to get some money for your family. They're gonna be taken care of, and it's like never mentioned again until the very very end.
Which
totally forget that that's why he's doing this.
Which is probably why I didn't even mention it, because it's just a one line of dialogue that happens.
Yeah, like at this point, you've totally forgotten about that, and you're thinking that Ginty is just a sadistic psycho who's meat grinding people.
So Robert Ginty shows up to the house. He's kind of creeping around, and then a Doberman dog comes out of nowhere and starts to attack Ginty.
Yes.
Which again, Ginty, he's a pansy. What does he do? He grabs an electric turkey carver and he kills a fucking dog, Greg.
Oh my god. Cardinal sins. Not only do we get violence against little old ladies, They kill a dog.
A dog. That's
Ugh.
insane. And he feels horrible about it. You
Yeah.
can
At least
just
they had the good sense to not show that.
exactly. Which is shocking because this is B schlock, so you would assume that they would go for the gasps and show the
Yes.
dog
And
dying.
getting turkey carved to death.
Uh, and no point in this scene does Robert Ginty get money.
No, no. He kills the dog.
So
He wipes his fingerprints off of the meat carver and then just fucking
can we
leaves.
take one step back? If you
Yes.
weren't paying full attention, Robert Ginty kidnaps someone to go to his house to kill his dog.
That's that's basically what happens here.
He doesn't get any money. He just kills the
No.
dog. It's not like the money was in the dog.
The files are in the computer.
Show me that scene where Robert Ginty cuts the dog open and there's fucking money inside of it.
Jesus. Okay, yeah, that would be interesting in a weird, horrible kind of way, but it would at least be something, not him
Exactly.
just killing a dog and be like, "Well, my work here is done,"
Exactly.
and then leave.
I'm gonna go back to the warehouse and meat grind the mob boss, which is exactly what he does. He starts to meat grind him, and then very conveniently, the mob boss turns into a pile of ground beef.
Like really pristine looking hamburger meat.
I would eat
Where's
that.
like his shoes and his pants, all of his clothes? Like, shouldn't all be that crap be like mixed in with the meat, making it look all nasty?
It should have showed the next scene Robert Ginty making
Making
man burgers.
Oh, that would have just really turned this movie on its head.
Oh man.
Can you imagine if that happened? Like Ginty is all of a sudden the cannibal.
he's like, this needs more ketchup. He's like licking his fingers.
And he goes, oh no, get this. He takes the man meat back to the steakhouse.
Oh my
and
god.
Sells it to them in like because he works in the meatpacking district.
He does.
He sells the mob boss man meat.
He gets it
along with the rest of the shipment.
He gets it packaged up, right? And it looks very nice. It's already preformed patties. He buys it.
Sirloin.
He buys it from his boss because that's the kind of guy that Robert Ginty is. He sells it and then he buys it back because he did all the processing and everything else like that. And then he goes, I know who needs this food. And he takes it to his war buddy's family. And he's like, you guys are poor. I got some meat for you to eat.
Oh my god, Cannibal Ginty serving human meat.
Ginty is
to a poor war widow.
He's in the backyard of the bombed out buildings. He has like the Kiss the Chef apron on. He's flipping burgers. Homeless people are coming up. He's giving out burgers. The wife of his war buddy's falling in love. He's like, oh man, this is a man who can take care of us. And and
he makes a good cheeseburger to boot.
He makes a good cheeseburger. And Ginty takes a bite out of it and he kind of gives a wink back to the wife. And he's like, I'm gonna eat you next.
and one of the little kids takes a bite of the burger and like there's like a ring.
There's a ring in it. There's a mob boss ring in it. Ginty's like, you found the prize.
Oh my god. Wow, I want to watch that movie.
Oh, Robert Ginty.
Exterminator 4, Cannibal Ginty.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my gosh.
So it cuts to like the seediest part of New York that you'll ever see. And we're following this one character who finds a hooker and he brings them back to his brothel of sorts.
Yeah, these are all characters this guy we've never seen before.
Exactly. And it's kind of odd, the dialogue, because you don't really know what's going on in the beginning of these characters, of what their motivations are.
Yeah, at this point he's just some weird looking schlub who's picking up a prostitute.
You see Oswald Cobblepot, the penguin, come out of nowhere. It's just
Danny DeVito, no.
It's just this short, fat, balding guy with glasses. And he comments, he's like, usually this isn't my kind of taste. And he's like, but I'm in on it.
But she'll do.
And he's like, let's torture her. He takes a soldering iron and puts it in petroleum jelly, which I don't get. And then he starts to burn her. What was the petroleum jelly for?
I don't
Is
know.
it so, and this probably sounds horrible, is it so that it doesn't stick to her burning flesh? It kind of just like glides across her
Jeez.
skin.
I maybe, yeah. In a weird twisted logic, I guess.
Um, so then we get a quick news report interlude thing. It's kind of talking about Vigilante, the Exterminator. Uh, it again, it happens so quick that if you weren't paying attention, you're gonna miss it. And it really
Yeah.
provides nothing overall to the film because we immediately cut to Robert Ginty picking up the hooker who just got tortured. And he's taking her to a rent by the hour motel. Uh,
Another like horribly seedy looking place. Just you feel like you're gonna get lice just looking at it.
exactly. And you wouldn't take the Robert Ginty character for doing this. It's kind of like Paul Kersey. Paul Kersey wouldn't pick up a hooker to go bang.
Yeah. Okay. So here we got. Let's dissect this a little bit. There's one of two possibilities. One,
He's gonna kill her.
Ginty was just trying to get lucky, and he just happened to pick up the poor victimized prostitute who had been tortured with a soldering iron. He's okay. That's creepy enough. Or two, he by some movie magic knew about this one girl having been tortured as a prostitute and specifically sought her out to ask her like who did this to you and then go do what he did. Neither one make any kind of sense whatsoever.
Or three, he knowingly picked up a hooker to turn her into hamburger meat.
Cannibal Ginty's back.
He's I gotta taste some female meat now.
He's got the hunger at this point. Like in that Always Sunny episode.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Taste that delicious human meat.
Did you just see that? I would have
go
ate
back
that
for
guy.
more. I'm gonna eat that guy. I want to eat that guy, Charlie.
As they get ready
That's not what happens.
Yeah, I wish it did. As they get ready to copulate, she takes her blouse off and he notices the burns and she's like, yeah, some dude did this to me. And that really upsets Robert Ginty. And he goes back to his Ginty cave, where he's doing stuff with bullets that we don't quite understand. He's like putting things on the tip and melting them down and filing them. He's making bullets even more deadly.
Yeah, this is we you described it really quick, but like this is like a 10-minute scene almost.
Yeah.
In intricate detail, we see him with a drill press, making hollow point bullets, like putting drops of mercury into the hollow area that he just made in the shell or in the bullet and soldering over it to like make it a solid piece. And he does this a couple times, and we see him making these mercury tipped bullets.
I could
But
understand
it takes so long.
if he was going to hunt Jaws or like a mythical creature that he would need to poison his bullets, right? It needs more than just bullet power. We need to like poison to slow him down. But these are human beings, and I've seen
They're
enough.
gonna die either way.
Exactly.
People die when they get shot, dude.
It's not like he's there. Someone's gonna get shot. He's like, oh god, mercury. He's gonna be like, you fucking
My
shot
weakness.
me.
Yeah, like they're gonna die right away anyway. You're gonna get maybe a second or two of them like, ow, and it's an extra bit of burniness because of the mercury, and then they just keel over. I don't know, but it's I as much as like we were like ragging on it, I kind of in a weird way enjoyed this like overly detailed process of him making these bullets. It felt like it came from a different movie.
It did. It felt like an actual movie where he gets so upset that he's trying to figure out different ways and more horrible ways of killing people
to take out take out vengeance on these guys. It reminded me a little bit, not the revenge part, but the whole like overly detailed prep of the arsenal. It reminded me of that scene in Terminator where Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor are making the pipe bombs and everything, and they're showing them like how to do it, and he's basically like teaching her how all this stuff.
Exactly.
And it reminded me of like that in a good way.
It's something that you would expect in a Punisher movie. Because he immediately makes all these new, more deadly bullets, and then he goes to like a chest, and there's just a treasure trove of silencers and revolvers and grenades inside of this thing.
Which we touch on this a little bit, but Phil, you were in the military. When you left the military, did you get to like take home all your guns and grenades and all that kind of cool stuff
Oh,
that you, I'm sure, had access to,
I
right?
still have my F-16 parked in the parking lot that they issued to me. Yeah, again, I never understand that. Like the military movies where it's like, yeah, he left the military, or like he's coming home and he still has like his M16 with him. It's
And they
like
take all that shit home with them. Yeah.
you would be like that stuff probably ended after World War II, when people were probably literally doing that, like bringing home Lugers and Nazi
All that
paraphernalia.
crap.
And
Oh yeah, you'd be in Leavenworth so fast your head would spin in this case.
exactly, like you don't get to take your gun home, let alone do you have like a gun that is specifically yours when you're not downrange. Like it just
Yeah.
doesn't happen.
Oh.
But Robert Ginty has a ton of stuff to use, and he just chooses a revolver. He doesn't take any grenades with him or anything like that. He just takes
No.
the revolver.
With this like the 6 shots and that's it.
Yeah,
6 rounds in a revolver, and he's like, I'm probably not going to need all this other stuff. I'll be okay with just 6. And well, somehow he is anyway. But if you're a
exactly.
really prepared vigilante, he'd take that whole arsenal with him.
Yes, because the whole reason that he's doing this, not only was the hooker tortured, but she says that the proprietor there deals in sex trafficking children. So
Yes.
Robert Ginty shows back up to the place, and he's trying to sell 2 fake children to this guy. And he obviously is it. The guy is very receptive to it because that's what he deals in.
Right.
And then Robert Ginty gets pissed, obviously, and he starts beating the shit out of him. And then out of nowhere, so again, like this movie is poorly edited because
Yeah.
Robert Ginty punches him and does a couple things, and then the next scene, and I rewound this a couple times because I thought I was missing something. He's like chained up now, and Robert Ginty is putting lighter fluid all over him, and then he just torches him.
Oh yeah, that's right. Like he comes in the door. He's still pretending he's gonna sell kids to this horrible creep, and then yeah, he hits him in the face once, and then all of a sudden, yeah, he's tied up in the other room.
Yeah. So they're
that's a good point. That is a little weird.
editing for time.
Yeah, I guess.
The short, fat, bald man is still there.
Yeah, I noted that. I wrote that down too. It's like, Danny DeVito, does he like live in this horrible this sex trafficking bordello?
Exactly. Ginty tracks him down into a room and kind of doesn't shoot him in the chest. I think he shoots him in like the dick area.
He got RoboCopped by Ginty.
Exactly.
That guy in the dick.
In the room is a guy strung up. Obviously, he's being raped, and Ginty saves him. It's probably like one of the nicest things Ginty does in the entire film.
But he's like still scaring the shit out of the guy. Like the kid, he just sees Danny DeVito get shot in the dick, and he thinks he's coming for him too. It's kind of horrible how like afraid this poor kid is.
Yeah. And then we just get exposition cop with Dr. Venarious, with Mr. Venarious, and he's like, that guy
Detective Venarious,
that guy who got burned up. He got burned up because he's a pedophile, and it's really bad because he was on a mattress. And the fat guy, he's like the mayor of New Jersey or something, right?
Oh, he was a state senator.
A state senator
from New Jersey, yeah.
And he's a pedophile too. And Mr. Venarious is just like, all right. And that's the scene.
Before we roll off of that, though, we do get a quick shot of the burnt up body of like the proprietor of this weird like sex trafficking ring.
It does look good.
It looks really good. We're being real creeps with the gore here and how good the gore looks, but it's weird. It's really consistently weird how good some of the makeup effects are in this compared to how lazy the writing and the editing is.
Yes,
but it looks like a burnt up body. I don't know how else to describe it. It looks like slow roast barbecue with teeth in it.
there has
Really weirdly effective.
there has to be like another cut of this film somewhere with all these missing scenes.
Yeah, to like fill out the plot a little bit better. That's the only thing I can think of is someone saw it. They in their mind they're trimming out the fat, like, nah, people aren't coming to these movies to hear about a dramatic vigilante plot in all of this guy's backstory.
Yeah.
Just cut all that crap out and get to the gore and get to the explosions.
I can see that it falling victim to something like that. Get to the action. Every 10 minutes, action.
Yep. It didn't, we didn't get an action beat on at the time where the formula says I need to trim out that part where we explain that Ginty is doing this for the family, whatever.
Exactly. So we get the big emotional scene here. Robert Ginty shows up to his friend and kind of explains again. He's like, "Okay, I got your money, family. I've got revenge for you, and I ate a person.
He was delicious.
He was delicious."
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Ginty's like, "Do you want me to kill you now?" Blink twice for yes.
Blink twice for yes. That part we're not making up.
Yeah. Robert Ginty then cuts the tubes to all of his stuff, his friend, and he suffocates and dies.
Euthanizes him, yeah.
So horrible. Ginty is a horrible friend. Suffocation is probably, I hear, like one of the worst ways to die.
Yeah, that's up there with like drowning and burning to death is like just the worst ways to die.
Yeah, you're alive through the entire event of dying.
You get that nice panic, which is just the worst.
Yeah. He should have at least
terrifying.
Like he's paralyzed, right? He should have just stabbed him. He wouldn't have felt it and just let him bled out. I know that sounds horrible, but he wouldn't have felt it.
That's actually a good point. I probably would have, all things considered, if he's really insisting on like euthanizing his old war buddy, at least give us a little bit of thought. But no, he lets him just suffocate there, and you hear him like struggling to breathe. It's terrible.
As Ginty leaves, Mr. Venarious, Detective Venarious, is in the hospital banging a nurse. And as Ginty is leaving, him and Venarious cross paths. Venarious goes, "Hey, your fly is down." And then Venarious starts putting all the pieces together. And he's like, "Wait, the person who's dying is the war buddy. The person who just left is Ginty. Ginty's the exterminator. I've got to go get him."
Yeah, he like not one light bulb moment. It's just like all like 10 light bulbs go off all at the same time in this guy's head, and somehow pieces together the entire plot that we've gotten no insight into whatsoever.
Exactly.
He understands it.
So Ginty starts putting his arsenal together, or not Ginty, sorry, Mr. Venarious, Detective Venarious starts putting his arsenal together because he's gonna get Ginty. Ginty goes to the now widow wife and tells her, "Hey, your husband's dead." That's it. It's like a 5-second scene. It's not emotional at all.
No, yeah. The actress that they got to play the wife was just the worst. She like barely reacted in the beginning when she heard of the horrible, like, getting mugged. Her husband getting mugged and put in the hospital and paralyzed, and then she is equally emotionless when it gets told that he's dead now.
It's like, oh,
it's what he
no.
wanted. No, you're wrong. There was still hope.
Like, no, your husband he's in the dead zone.
He's in the meat grinder now.
Exactly.
The metaphorical meat grinder. Yes.
You want burgers?
Incidentally, here's this ground chuck.
Ginty calls the detective at this point, and he's like, "Hey, meet me here, XYZ." Mr. Venarious shows up. There's nothing there. There's nothing going on, right? And then
it's like at a pier or something, right?
Yeah, and then Ginty calls Venarious again, and he's like, "You're gonna come alone, and now you're gonna meet me here." And it's at a pier. Ginty is on like a battleship for some reason. Don't go onto battleships if you don't have authorization to do so. Even decommissioned ones. You'll get fucking killed by like the night guard for doing that.
It's okay. I was in the military once. Don't you
Exactly.
see the fatigue jacket that I walked away with?
Exactly. It's
Jesus.
so weird. And it's about to get weirder. So
Yes.
Venarious and Ginty, they finally meet up. There's like a chase the in the decommissioned battleship. It's actually kind of effective because it's just a cool set, a cool
Yeah, it looks
place.
that really well too. Lots of kind of dark shadows, and yeah, it looks nice.
And Ginty kind of shows the fear to Venarius, and he's like, "This is what people go through every day."
Which, like, what a psycho,
Yeah.
right? Like lighting this, like throwing a Molotov cocktail, like just to get a rise out of this guy before you surrender to him, I guess.
Yep. Uh, and so they kind of like, yeah, he surrenders to him. He gives Mr. Venarius the gun, and then out of nowhere, Venarius gets shot.
Yeah, really nice little squib shot, by the way. But yeah, out of nowhere, we don't see that. There's apparently like a sniper, was it,
Yeah.
from a crane nearby?
And Venarius is like, I'll distract him. You go. Ginty goes for the run. He gets shot. You hear ADR of that was a really good shot. The boss is going to be happy. Venarius gets shot again. A car explodes. The credits start to kind of roll, and we see Ginty alive wash up at the
On
Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, Liberty Island there. Yep.
And then that's the movie.
Yeah, we roll credits over those aerial shots of the city again.
I
So
It
bizarre.
is such an odd film. There's obviously stuff cut for time. I'm
Yeah.
wondering where it's at. But
So
yeah,
I think there's like two main threads, maybe three that were cut from this. The first is more motivation for like more of the buildup between Ginty being the victim war hero and becoming a vigilante and kind of like taking care of the family. I think there were probably pieces of that were cut. Another thing that was cut were all of the scenes with Detective Venarius
yep,
and his hospital doctor girlfriend, which we get a couple like disjointed date scenes with them, but they have no impact on anything.
yeah,
They just come out of nowhere. And the third thing I think, which leads into the quote of the week, is this whole like political intrigue subplot. Like occasionally during the movie, we get these cutaways to who unnamed, unfamiliar characters who I assume are like political figures, like a mayor's office person or like a party representative or something. But we get these little teases of like people thinking that there's a rogue agent from another country being involved and that they're behind these exterminator killings, and they keep talking about like how like this is going to be bad for re-election, or and there's like a CIA agent who shows up when the ghetto ghoul's car gets thrown off the edge by Ginty.
yeah.
It's like, but there's like all these little like nuggets that we hear and they make no sense to us, but you think that there's like a whole proper plot for that kind of on the cutting room floor, which is kind of a shame because maybe that would have made it a little better. But
I,
yeah,
and that's why the movie gets a 2.5. There's too much missing.
that's a shame. I as much as we were like ragging on this, I actually for some reason quite enjoyed this. It was like a 3.5 for me, honestly.
I can
Like
see it.
3.5.
I
I
can see
think
it.
it is like you said, there's so much missing. The plot was just dog shit, but there was enough here that was weird and interesting to keep me engaged. Like that whole scene with him making the mercury bullets, the really effective makeup effects kind of peppered in throughout the whole movie. There's that really weird scene with the cop, Detective Venarius. He's like cooking a hot dog by sticking like two forks into the mains outlet
Yeah.
and like heating up a hot dog, like weird little details that they just threw in that make no sense but are just kind of interesting character quirks. I don't know. It's hard to put my finger on, but things like little things like that that made me think, huh, that's weird. That kept my brain engaged instead of just like checking out and being bored.
I,
So I can't fault it for that. Like I was engaged the whole time.
if only there was just a little more
Cannibalism.
cannibalism, a little more bread holding together these parts of the meat to make
Yeah,
a
we got a
cohesive.
sandwich with no bread.
Yeah,
That's a good metaphor because we needed a little bit of those plot elements. We needed that vigilante buildup like we got in the first Death Wish movie. Yeah, a little bit of a little bit of cohesive, something to tie all the kind of all those really interesting weird things to help them flesh out a little bit better would have been nice. But yeah,
exactly.
but overall, I have to say, I coming off of Love Streams last week,
Oh, love strips.
like coming back to a movie like this, God, it was just great. I think I said it last time. Like sometimes I feel a little ashamed in a way for hungering over these lowbrow action violent movies, but that's just my entertaining genre. That's just the entertaining genre for
Oh
me.
yeah.
And coming off of Love Streams, it was impressive in its own right and clearly well made and has a lot of value. But this is my jam, and I was so happy to come back to it.
So interestingly enough, the Vietnam sequence was shot in the same location as where Vic Morrow would tragically die in the Twilight Zone, the movie. It
Really,
is, yeah. Just 3 years
actually, like, I
later.
can I can kind of see that actually because that cliff face in the background
Yep.
where they lift off at the end and there's like explosions that actually look, I can see that now. That's there. That cliff face was behind that Vietnam village in the Twilight Zone movie.
They credit that they did film on location in Vietnam, which is just a
Yeah,
bold faced lie.
bullshit.
And the movie caused a lot of controversy because of the graphic nature of the violence, and
Yeah, I bet.
they didn't like that Robert Ginty's character, who, while you could say that he is the hero, he's also the bad guy just because he's a sadistic vigilante, doesn't really get any
Yeah.
comeuppance at the end, right? He,
No.
besides his life, he has no other thing on the line, right? He doesn't have a family. He gets his vigilante and the family squared away really early on in the film. So he really has nothing for him to lose.
Yeah, it was disappointing in the same way that the very end of Death Wish was disappointing, where like Jack Kersey, he just gets a new job and moves to Chicago or something, right? Or moves some other city and there's like no there's no consequences whatsoever. The cops just want him to leave.
Yeah,
But this is even worse. I mean, he literally just kind of washes up on the shore, and I assume the sequel when we watch it will that would be awesome if it was just like carries on exactly where we left off, where he's just like toweling off from having been in the water.
exactly.
Well, back to vigilanteing.
Yep. The decapitation scene was created by Stan Winston.
No shit.
Yes.
Oh man, that's awesome. I'm I'm kind of proud of myself for being able to spot a quality effect and knowing instinctively that it came from an effects master like him.
And the prostitution house that they had in the film was actually a real prostitution house that was recently shut down by the police on 42nd Street. So,
Like, wait, they shut it down before the movie was
like
made or after?
the cops came in, they shut it down, and then I guess the location scout was like, "We'll film there. This is authentic."
I like the idea of the cops shutting it down because the location scout was like, man, that's a really seedy looking, kind of whorehouse looking place. I want to shoot there. Hey cops, can you like go bust them up so that I can shoot there?
Exactly. And then I didn't see him. I don't know where he's at in the film, so I cannot comment on this. But Samuel L. Jackson is somewhere in this film as an extra.
What?
Yes. Yep.
No.
It is one of his first earlier appearances in movies.
In film, geez. I'm trying to think like there were a couple scenes where there was some like bystanders to crime scenes. I guess
Yeah,
maybe he like one of the people standing behind, like standing behind the police tape, maybe trying to gawk. I don't know.
but yeah, he has an uncredited extra in the movie.
Interesting challenge. Any enterprising listeners out there, if you want to go and comb through this entire movie for us and find a time code where he shows up, tweet it at us, email it to us. I want to know where Samuel L. Jackson is in this
Yeah,
movie.
because even Googling it, it doesn't show like this is where he's at in this movie. So it'd be very interesting to see Samuel L. Jackson in it. Um, yeah,
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
considering this is like 1980, and I think
Probably produced in '79. When did
Coming to America is like one of
yeah.
his first actual credited film roles. So this very well could be. Oh no! Well, I look. This would be one, two, three. This is his fourth thing. Two TV movies before this and two TV series before this.
Okay.
So
So Coming to America must have been his first like speak, like we actually had lines and maybe it
yeah,
was just extras and stuff in the previous
it's
ones.
interesting because
Wow.
it goes The Exterminator, and then another thing called Ragtime, which was 1981, and then it took him 6 years to get another role. He went 6 years without doing anything.
Jeez. Way to stick to it there, Sam.
I know. Gotta love
Well
him.
done.
Well, what's the quote of the week this week, Greg?
I'm glad you asked. So I mentioned that there were some like political intrigue plot lines that were kind of peppered in, but they were clearly like cut 90% of them. So there was a part where the ghetto ghouls, their car goes over the side of the rail there. God, it's just such a good name, isn't it? The ghetto ghouls. And so yeah, the hot rod goes over the edge, and it's like it blows up, and the cops are there. They're investigating, and Detective Venarious is there, and a guy shows up behind him, and he says he's from the CIA, and he starts spouting all these crazy, like what sound like conspiracy theories about how we think this might be, someone trying to sow discord in the United States, or someone from an opposition party or an anarchist group, blah 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 blah. And then he asks Detective Venarious, "What do you think?" And Detective Venarious replies with what almost made me do a spit take at my computer here. He says, what do you think? And he says, "I think you have to take a shit, and it's come out of your mouth instead of your asshole."
The Exterminator has been stirring up a lot of resentments against incumbent politicians and the entire judicial system. This could easily be the work of the opposition party, or maybe even a foreign government. What do you think?
I think you have to take a shit. It's coming out of your mouth instead of your asshole.
That's a good line.
Wow, like what razor sharp wit to come up with a hilarious line like that. Oh man, like as bad as the writing is in this movie, that's just such like a weird off the wall hilarious thing, kind of like something that like a no nonsense detective would say.
Exactly.
I love it.
Well, Greg, are you ready to step into the canon sequel of Exterminator 2?
Am I? And if there is not more cannibalism, because there's definitely cannibalism in the Exterminator, it's all subtext though. There better be.
So the Exterminator is back, and he's burning with vengeance. John Eastland is back. The torch-wielding outlaw vigilante is cleaning up the urban jungle again. Drug Lord X and his army of thugs have declared war on New York City, but they have yet to meet someone like the Exterminator. This fiery sequel also stars Mario Van Peebles, New Jack City, Frankie Faison, Banshee, and Deborah Geffner, all that jazz.
I don't know who any of these people are, but damn, I'm excited anyway.
You don't know who Mario Van Peebles is?
I might know him if I saw him.
Have you ever seen Jaws 4?
No.
Okay, then you
All
probably
right.
don't know who Mario Van Peebles is.
Okay. I know faces more than names typically.
I think that
I'm sure I'd be able to spot him.
I think that's probably, I say that like, oh my God, you don't know who Mario Van Peebles is. But really, I think the only Mario Van Peebles, and I'm saying his name a lot, I will just call him MVP.
Peoples.
Oh, I just put that in a wrong Discord. The only Mario Van
You're
Peebles
sending random actors to random people.
I did. The only other film I could tell you that he was in was Jaws 4.
He looks. He definitely looks familiar.
He's in a lot of stuff. I will give him that.
Some got like a character actor, like
Yeah.
a that guy kind of guy.
100%.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever seen it. I think maybe you got it from Vinegar Syndrome. He's in Sweetback's Badass Song. He's young Sweetback.
Did they Vinegar Syndrome do a release? I didn't get that one. I know I got their releases of Dolomite and PD Wheatstraw.
Yeah.
I don't think I didn't get that one.
Yeah. Well,
Awesome.
You'll be able to see him here coming up in Exterminator 2.
The canon sequel.
I will be shocked if the canon sequel has a more cohesive story than this. But ... this film company, and I'm using that in quotes, also cannot be found. So maybe it speaks to the quality of, canon that they can at least keep making movies.
Yeah, it's true. At least they stayed in business. Looking at you, what was it, InfoStar?
Yeah, and that's really weird in my opinion that
She dropped off the face of the earth after the
exactly
Exterminator.
like what happened there? I don't know. Because the Exterminator did make a pretty decent return on its investment. It made $35 million in the box office off of
What was the budget?
$2 million film. So
That's pretty good.
how the hell did this film company just disappear?
I don't know. Maybe it was just like maybe they made educational films or something, and this was like their one feature, and they just wanted to stop doing it.
Yeah.
And then they just sold the catalog to Canon, and that's how we got the sequels, I guess. That's all
Interesting.
wild speculation, but yeah, I can't wait. I was shocked how expensive this movie looked in terms of like all of the makeup effects and the all the explosions and all like the expensive looking things that set pieces that happen in this one. I will be interested to see if the canon sequel can top it, because they do a lot of stuff like that, but they also don't like to spend a lot of money.
Exactly.
So we'll see.
All right. Well, next week, I don't know why I had to look at the DVD, because it's just there's just a 2 at the end of it. Exterminator 2.
Exterminator 3, 4, shit, 2.
Oh God, I messed up. Well, if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. Give us some constructive criticism on how we can make this podcast more enjoyable to you. You can follow us on YouTube at That's Canon, and you can also email us at That's Canon. That's CANNON @gmail.com. That's Canon. And remember, since we said it,
that's canon. I don't remember anything about this except Ginty's fucked up face.